In this part, we're going to go over some oligopoly games inspired by game theory. So in the first game, we are talking about the decision of two countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia, regarding whether to keep their oil production high or low. So the payoff matrix is in front of you. So you can see that if both the countries go for high production, both will make a gain of 40 billion euros, whereas if both go for low production, that in that case they can artificially inflate the price of oil and as a result earn profits of 50 million euros each. Then we have two intermediary cases, where in the first case, which is this one, these are the payoff matrix when Iran decides to go for high production and Saudi Arabia goes for low production. And similarly, this box over here, it represents the payoff matrix when Saudi Arabia goes for high production and Iran opts for low production. Now, if I ask you what is the collusion outcome, or what is the cartel outcome, if both Iran and Saudi Arabia cooperate with one another, which is the best outcome for them? Now, we can identify this outcome but through the process of elimination. You can see that this outcome here, both the parties, this outcome is not beneficial for both the parties. It's surely inclined towards Saudi Arabia, where Saudi Arabia gains more from the agreement than Iran. So since it's not, this agreement is not on equal basis, both the parties, well, it's favorable to Saudi Arabia, but Iran will never agree to such an agreement. Similarly, if you look at this case, again, this agreement is going to benefit Iran, so Saudi Arabia is never going to mutually agree to this deal. Now, so we are left with these two options here. In this option here, Saudi Arabia, Iran get 40 billion euros of profit, but both the parties can do much better than this and agree on this deal where both go for low production and both enjoy profits of $50 million each. So if you ask me what is going to be the collusion outcome or what is going to be the cartel outcome, the answer will be this, where both go for low production, they are able to artificially, this way they're able to artificially inflate the price and as a result enjoy profit of this many euros each. Now, again, now let's just look at the other side of the picture, which is that what is going to be the Nash equilibrium in this case. I explained to you that in many games, if you're able to identify the dominant strategy, that is the same as the Nash equilibrium. So the way to identify the dominant strategy is that you can assume the role of one of the players. So let's assume that your country is Saudi Arabia. So you are thinking so your country is Saudi Arabia, and you are thinking in such a manner that if Iran goes for high production, so if Iran goes for high production, that is, we're going to be in then these two columns. So Saudi Arabia has two options. If it goes for high production, this is the profit that it's going to make, and if it goes for low production, this is the profit that it's going to make. It's going to compare its payoffs, and the higher payoff is attained when Saudi Arabia goes for high production. So that is the optimum strategy here. So that's why you can see an arrow moving from this. If Iran goes for high production, Saudi Arabia, the best strategy for Saudi Arabia is also high production. What if Iran goes for low production? You can see for yourself that if it goes for low production, again Saudi Arabia is going to compare its payoffs, and it's going to be much beneficial for Saudi Arabia to go for high production again, because this way it can make higher profits. So irrespective of what Iran does, the best strategy for Saudi Arabia is high production. So that's settled as to what Saudi Arabia is going to do. Now let's look at the same scenario from Iran's perspective. So now think that your country is now Iran, and Saudi Arabia, if Saudi Arabia now goes for high production, let me just rub these additional things. So now if Saudi Arabia goes for high production, Iran is going to compare its payoffs, and you can see that it's much more beneficial for Iran to go for high production. So high production gets selected. If Saudi Arabia goes for low production, again Saudi Arabia So again, Iran is going to compare its payoffs, and you can see that it makes greater gains if it sticks to high production. So irrespective of what Saudi Arabia does, Iran will go for high production. So we have a dominant strategy here, which is that both will go for high production. So you can see that this is the cartel outcome, this is the best outcome, but of course both the parties will have an incentive to deflect from this agreement, because if Iran knows that Saudi Arabia is going to go for low production, it is going to deflect from the agreement and go for high production in order to increase its profit. And the same reasoning is going to be employed by Saudi Arabia. So both will end up with high and high production, and both will end up making profit of $40 billion. So this was like one application of how an oligopoly ends up making its production decision based on strategic thinking. Then there is another game which is themed as the arms race game. Here the arms race is between two rival countries, United States and Russia, and the decision is to arm or to disarm. Now the payoff matrix is in front of you, and you can clearly see that it's beneficial for both the countries to disarm, and as a result US is going to be safe and Russia is going to save, and both the countries are going to save billions of dollars in building arms and ammunition. So this is going to be the cartel outcome, or this is the best strategy for both the countries, but you can see for yourself that this is not a stable strategy. If US stays true to the agreement and disarms, what is the best strategy for Russia? Okay, so Russia is going to compare its payoff. So isn't it better that Russia arms itself? That way it's going to be safer, and it's going to be in a more powerful position. It will be in the position to press US to agree to all of their demands. So if Russia can think this way, US can also think in the same manner. So if US thinks that Russia is going to stay true to the agreement and continue to disarm, it's best for US to arm itself and as a result become safe and assume an upper hand when it comes to diplomatic relationship between the two countries. Okay, so what we've just seen from this example is that although this is the best outcome, this is not a stable outcome. So both will end up deflecting from the agreement and both will end up arming themselves. Okay, so this is going to be the oligopoly outcome, where both arm themselves. So as a result, you can see that both will be at risk, but nonetheless, this risk is going to be acceptable instead of the fear that, okay, if we are going to stay disarmed and if the other country arms itself, then what will happen? So, just to be on the safe side, just to, save each other's skin, both the countries will end up arming themselves. So similarly, there is another game which is the advertisement game, and it's between two companies, Marlboro and Camel, and both they make cigarettes, and both are facing this dilemma whether to advertise or they shouldn't advertise. Now, of course, if both the countries don't advertise, they're going to save billions of dollars, and you can see here from the payoff matrix that Marlboro is going to then make a profit of 4 billion and Camel is going to make a profit of 4 million. So this can also qualify as a cartel outcome, because this is the best strategy for both the parties. Both the parties will mutually agree to it. You can see for yourself that this outcome is not acceptable to both. It's favoring Marlboro, but it's harming Camel. So why would Camel agree to this, to such a deal? Similarly, this deal is again unacceptable because it's favoring Camel. So, Marlboro is going to, say that, oh, I'm not going to agree to this. So we are just left with these two options here. So comparing these two options, this option is better. So go for this option. But again, you can see that this is not a sustainable option. you can see for yourself that if let's suppose Camel, it remains true to the agreement, it doesn't advertise. Marlboro is going to compare its payoffs, and it's much more feasible for Marlboro to advertise and increase its profit from 4 to 5. So we're going to move from this box here to this box here. Now, once you are in this box, let's assume now that the ball is in Camel's court now, and they are seeing this scenario that Marlboro has, broken the agreement and it has advertised. Now, Camel is not going to stay, it's not going to do any, it's not going to sit, without, it's not going to sit still, it's going to do something about it. Marlboro has decided to advertise. So what will Camel do? If Camel advertises, its profit increases by $3 billion as compared to if it doesn't advertise. So it's quite obvious that Camel is going to retaliate. It is also going to advertise, and both the parties will end up in this box then. Alright, so we're starting from this box, and you can see that at the end of the day, you will come to this box, will both end up advertisement and both earn, end up earning a profit of $3 million. So similarly, we have two other games here. That's the common resource game, and I presume there's another game which is the Jack and Jill Oligopoly game. So in these two games, you can also use the same logic. It's always easier to start off with the monopoly outcome, and just by looking at these payoffs. So here we're talking about two companies, Shell and BP. They are both into drilling of petrol, of oil, and selling oil. So you can see that the payoff, given these payoff matrix, the best outcome for both the parties, or the collusion or the cartel deal for both the parties, is to drill one well each, and as a result gain a profit of 5 million euros each. Okay, so we are in this box. We're starting off with this box, and you can figure out the dominant strategy here. Incidentally, in all the games that I'm showing you, there is a dominant strategy. So these are like simpler games. When you go into further details of game theory, you can model more complicated games as well. But we're going to keep things simple and just focus on games where there is a dominant strategy. Alright, so you can also think in this manner that, okay, fine, if Shell sticks to one drill, what is the best strategy for BP? So BP is going to compare its payoffs, and you can clearly see that if BP cheats and it drills another well, it can increase its profit to 6. So we are basically moving from this box to this box here. So now turn the tables and again look at how Shell is going to retaliate. So if Shell it hits Shell that BP has cheated and it has drilled 2 wells, what will be its reaction? So Shell is going to look at its payoff matrix, and it makes sense for Shell to also dig another well, and as a result increase its profit from 3 billion euros to 4 billion euros. So that means we're going to move to this box here, and once you're settled in this box, there's no incentive for you to deviate. There's no incentive for either Shell or BP to make any other decision. Alright, so if BP has made 2 drills, the best strategy for Shell is going to dig 2 wells, and the same is the case that if Shell digs 2 wells, the best strategy for BP is again going to drill 2 wells. So once you reach this outcome, there's no tendency to deviate from it. That's why it's called the equilibrium, and more precisely it's referred to as Nash equilibrium. Okay, so I guess this last example can also be tackled in the same manner. Now, the way I've drawn the payoff matrix is that it's just a coincidence that for all the cases, the collusion outcome, it is represented by this box here, and the cartel outcome, the outcome where Jack and Jill are competing aggressively, it's represented by this box here. But that need not be the case. You really have to use your logic in order to identify the collusion outcome and the cartel outcome. Okay, now there are just a few things left in this chapter. Why people sometimes cooperate. Now, when the game is repeated many times, cooperation may be possible. So up till now, whatever games that we have looked into, we are assuming that the game is it's only being played one time. So if it's a one-time game, then of course there's greater incentive to cheat and gain short-term profits, because you know that this our relationship is not going to continue in the future, so let's just cheat now, gain the profits, and enjoy life at this particular point in time. But if there are repeated games, there are severe repercussions of cheating. Strategies which may lead to cooperation. Now, if your rival reneges in one round, you renege in all subsequent rounds. So that's a great disincentive for you to not to cheat. There will be short-term gains of cheating in this round, but there are going to be long-run repercussions in all the subsequent rounds where you're going to lose out. So it's better not to cheat when the relationship is long-term. Then there's this tit-for-tat strategy. Whatever your rival does in one round, whether renege or cooperate, you do in the following round. So it's best if cooperation gives you greater profits in all the subsequent years as well. It's best that you adopt the tit-for-tat strategy. If the firm cooperates in the first year, you cooperate in the first year, and this cycle is going to continue. So cheating is going to be more detrimental for the firms, because you're not going to lose in all the subsequent years, and that loss may be greater than one-time gain. So what is the role of policymakers? In the case of oligopoly, I basically explained to you that the oligopoly outcome is somewhere in between the outcome of perfectly competitive market and monopoly. So what can the policymakers do? The policymakers can promote competition, prevent cooperation, to move oligopoly closer to efficient outcome, right? So, for example, antitrust laws are in place, which makes price fixing agreements among competitors to be illegal. So, if any company is, found to be, involved in price fixing, a legal action can be taken against those firms. So, there are laws in place which actually discourage, oligopolies, that actually discourage oligopolies to operate as cartels. In Pakistan, we have the Competition Commission of Pakistan, which is referred to as the CCP, which ensures that there's competition in the market, so that the prices are set at a level which are below than what maybe a monopoly is going to charge, and production is going to be more in the market than as compared to a monopoly. So the policy maker is going to aim at discouraging cooperation, discouraging monopoly-like behavior, and moving the economy closer to the outcome of perfect competition. Right? So this is the end of this topic.